Alright guys, so today I'm going to be telling you how you can save money on your grocery bill simply by getting what nature has already provided for you. So we're going to be talking about a few different things: hunting, fishing, foraging, gardening, raising your own animals, etc. And we're going to kind of be exploring ways that you, as your regular everyday guy or girl, can just save money. I know prices are up right now, so anything we can do to help is good. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So the first way we're going to cut down on our prices is by getting our own meat. And the primary way we do that is through hunting. Hunting is the sustainable practice of harvesting animals so that you can have meat, but also not overdoing it to where you're destroying populations. Contrary to popular belief, the hunter is one of the best conservationists there is out there. Whenever you're buying your hunting license, most of that money goes towards conservation, and at the same time, making sure that you're taking out certain animals helps ensure that the ecosystem functions properly. If you have too high of a population of any specific animal, it can disrupt the entire ecosystem. This is why hunting is so important. Not only are we harvesting meat for our families, but at the same time we're managing our ecosystem and environment to make sure that everything can thrive and no one thing outweighs the other and destroys our habitats or our local populations. Another thing about hunting is that you're getting your meat fresh as you possibly can. Store-bought meats are covered with all kinds of chemicals to keep them preserved, and it's not really as good for you as just getting it straight out of the field and onto your dinner plate. So you're really going to notice the difference in taste as well as freshness. I tend to hunt smaller game such as armadillos, rabbits, squirrels, those kinds of things. There are deer that have walked around my property, but it's not deer season, so I can't really shoot those year-round. But armadillos are year-round, and by the way, they taste just like either beef or pork depending on how you cook it. Those, as well as raccoons, are some of my favorite meats. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this as a transition period to talk also about trapping. So if you can't afford to hunt, or you can't shoot guns in your area, or whatever the case, trapping is a great way, an extremely low cost way to get meat, as long as you can kind of look past the fact that it's a raccoon or a possum or whatever else you catch. To me, if it has meat and I can eat it, I will eat it. So I've eaten raccoon, possum, squirrel, snake, all kinds of different stuff. So you might see a dead little rat or whatever, but to me, I just see dinner. So this is a raccoon leg that I cooked. I know it's not a very good picture, as well as an armadillo leg and some burger patties made out of raccoon, armadillo, and possum, as well as some sausages that I made from that same mixture, and it was amazing. And then we had some skewers. Now, if you're looking at costs, hunting is probably going to be one of the most expensive on the list because you have to worry about buying a gun, as well as the attachments for the gun, like a sight or scope or whatever, and the ammo as well. Whereas trapping is fairly cheap. I'd say it's one of the cheaper items on the list. If you're wanting to go for something like a coyote, then you're going to have to buy snares or foot traps and scents and stuff like that. But if you're going just for like raccoons, possums, armadillos, those kinds of things, then you can just bait it up with tuna and buy a $30 live capture trap, and that'll be it. So the pricing on meat, how you're going to get it, is going to be very dependent on what route you take. But once you've bought a gun or bought a trap, from then on, basically whatever you pay for the bait or for the bullets is what you pay for the meat. All right, let's talk fishing, which is one of my favorite things to do. So with fishing, you have a lot of different options. You can go the cheap route, the expensive route, whatever. For me, I like to kind of do a little bit of both. So I make my own fishing lures, and I go bass fishing with those usually. But if you really want to get meat in the freezer, you really need to go something more like catfish or redfish, some larger fish that's going to really fill you up. So I do a whole lot of catfishing. I go night fishing a lot just because there's less people out. It's more quiet, more peaceful for me. Now, fish is a very lean meat, so it's one of the healthiest options for you, especially if you're looking to try to get into more of a high protein diet, or if your diet is an issue, then fish is going to be the way to go. You don't have to worry about a lot of fat. You don't have to worry about sugar or anything like that, obviously. It's a very, very good lean meat. It's also very abundant. You can sit there and catch tons and tons of fish, and you're never really going to outfish an area, especially if you're just by yourself and you're following fishing regulations. Also, despite what you might think, The fish have very different flavors and different varieties. For example, gar is a very weird feeling meat that's best mixed with other ingredients to make gar balls. Whereas catfish can be fried normal, or it can be grilled. It can be all kinds of different ways. And then there's some fish like sheep's head that's a very mild flavor. It's really nice. It's just, there's a lot of different flavors with different meats, different ways you can cook it, and you can cook fish a million different ways, and it tastes really good. For pricing, you're going to be looking at anywhere from a $25 rod, which is what I use. It's a Walmart $25 bait caster. I have caught all of my biggest fish. All these huge fish you're seeing, they were all caught on that cheap $25 rod and from the bank, so you don't need a boat to go fishing. I put some like $10 braided fishing line on it and got some circle hooks and some steel leaders. You're looking at, even if you buy a cast net, you're looking at only spending maybe $80 for a setup that can last you years. Now you might have to buy a few more hooks every now and then, but my setup has lasted me a long time, and I've gotten probably over 100 pounds of fish easily over 2 months just on a $25 Walmart rod. So the price can be very, very low, very affordable. And if you're catfishing, there's really not much skill required. You put a piece of bait on the hook, you throw it out as far as you can, you sit your rod down, and you wait. All right, the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to meat is raising your own animals. I'm going to focus mostly on the smaller animals that pretty much anyone could keep. So that's going to be rabbits, quail, and also chickens. I'll kind of put them in there as well. Now, I have raised goats and turkeys. I would never recommend turkeys to anyone. You will lose your sanity. I lost like in the double digits of turkeys just to them going out and staring at the sun. Now, I did also have predators take some of them out, but we had a drought for a little while. We had a nice, very ventilated, very cool area for them to stay in, had nice water there. They didn't. They walked right into the sun, stared at it, and kept dropping dead. It was, I kid you not, worst experience of my life. Do not ever get turkeys. They are so dumb. But, I digress. Chickens, quail, and rabbits, that's what you should focus on. They produce a good bit of meat. For me, quail are the best, with rabbits a very, very, very close second. And I say this because of the amount of space needed for them. Rabbits need a lot more space, and even though they produce more meat per animal, it takes a lot longer to get to that harvest, whereas quail turn into adults within like 6 weeks. I personally would put chickens just a little bit below that because they need more space and they take longer to mature to lay eggs. So it's kind of like a mix between the two, and it's just like the worst parts of both is that, yeah, it'll lay eggs and it'll provide meat, but you got to wait longer. Now, you can free range them to save on feed costs. That's kind of what I do with all mine. But when you free range, you have to worry about predators. For example, the old coyote that took out pretty much all of my animals. So you have to build a coop for them. You got to do a lot more for a chicken than you do for a quail. A quail, you stick it in a small metal cage. It's happy. It's good. And you don't have to worry about it. With rabbits, you have to have a bigger cage. You got to do a little bit more work with them. But I would say quail are the easiest and the most producing, rabbits second, and then chickens third. All right, let's move on from animals and on to plants. So there are two main ways that you can get plants, and that's through gardening or foraging. Gardening is basically domesticated foraging. So what you're doing is you're taking a seed, obviously, putting it in the ground, watering it, fertilizing it, letting it grow, and then harvesting. Whereas with foraging, you're just taking food that nature has already grown for you. You can plant potatoes and get a huge yield on that, or if you're in a smaller area, you can plant tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever, and you can still have a very bountiful harvest. The benefits to gardening versus going to the supermarket is, first of all, it's way cheaper. You can buy a pack of seeds for like 25 cents and get $20 worth of vegetables out of it. Super, super cost effective. It just takes time. Also, eating fruit or vegetables that you made yourself, like you grew yourself, is 1,000 times better than store-bought. You'll never look at a tomato or a cucumber or anything the same from the store once you've grown it yourself and harvested it yourself. Now, foraging, on the other hand, is, in my opinion, the easiest and cheapest thing on this list. You go out in the woods, you go out in the water, you go out wherever, and you just harvest what nature has grown for you. I did a video a little bit earlier just walking around my pond, and I harvested a whole bag full of stuff. Now, granted, I did plant some of the lettuce like years ago and let it naturally seed from there, but all I did was allow nature to grow stuff, and then I went and harvested it. That's berries, that's nuts, that's all kinds of different things. I know that down here in Louisiana we have figs, we have muscadines, which are like a wild kind of grape. We got persimmons, lemons, different types of oranges. We've got dewberries, blackberries, blueberries, all kinds of different stuff. And then also there's things that people don't even realize you can eat, like cattails. You can eat the tubers at the bottom. I've actually pickled them before, and they tasted great. You can boil pine needles to have a tea. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can get, mushrooms, all kinds of stuff. So if you're wanting to look into the freest way or the cheapest way, then all you're paying for is the fuel to get to where you're going, and then you just get to pick up stuff for free. The only thing you're ever going to have to worry about is making sure you have the right knowledge of what is good and what is bad to eat. But that's going to be a survival skill that is going to help you out tremendously. If you're ever in a survival situation, you're going to need to know what you can and cannot eat, so much more than you're going to need to know how to hunt or how to fish or how to trap. Because if you know how to hunt or fish or trap, but don't have a fishing pole, a gun, or a trap, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to use those resources, whereas if you know how to forage, you will be okay. So to recap, there are tons of different ways that you can use your backyard, the local woods, or your local waterway to reduce the cost of your grocery bill significantly. You can completely erase your need to go to the grocery store and become as self-sufficient as possible with your groceries just by going and taking what nature has already provided for you. Now, in the city, I understand it can be difficult, but do what you can, when you can, where you can. If you can plant on your balcony, plant on your balcony. If you can plant indoors, plant indoors. You don't need a fancy boat. You don't need a fancy gun. You don't need all these fancy tools that everybody tries to tell you need. We live in a consumerist society that tells you buy this and you'll have success, or buy this or you won't have success. When in reality, we really don't have to rely too much on society to feed us. Nature has provided us with plenty of food if we just know where to look and how to get it. So that's going to be about it for this video, guys. If you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment, whatever, you know the deal. It does help my channel out, and it also helps to spread the word of how we can do this. I think as a society, the more people who are trying to live off the land, or at least supplementing their diet with stuff from nature, that's going to really benefit us, instead of all of this nasty slop that we're fed from supermarkets and from companies. But anyways, I'm not going to go on that tangent too much. Next few videos I'm going to be doing are in progress. I'm going to do a hide tanning video. I've got the lure painting video coming up. Lots of exciting things on the horizon. I will be diving into these subjects more intricately in future videos. That way you can know specifics about animal raising, hunting, fishing, etc. If there's a specific thing you want me to do first, let me know in the comments. I'll see if I can get to that first. I will be doing an aquaponics build pretty soon. Lots of exciting things in the future. Subscribe to keep updated, and I'll catch you guys next time. Don't forget, Jesus loves you, I love you, and have a great day.